Power Rangers Cosmic Fury was the last season of this universe as we know it, and in 2024 the franchise will have a break. Then, in 2025 the reboot of Power Rangers is going to begin with a new universe that will have no relation to anything we've seen for the last 30 years. Many still don't understand this concept and don't understand why it is necessary to do so, so we are going to explain everything so you can start evolving along with Power Rangers. First, let's explain what a reboot means, and I don't want to look for scientific words. I'm just going to explain it the way a friend would explain it to you in a conversation having a juice with you. A reboot is like turning off the video game console, installing another memory, and starting the entire video game from scratch. Obviously, everything you played for 30 years has been stored in another memory, but now you are going to start with a new memory, and you can change the entire game with different decisions. Obviously, if you make the same decisions you always made in the previous game, then you are probably going to get the same results, but this is not the goal of any reboot. When any player decides to restart a game, it is because he wants to achieve something different, and the reasons can be many. In the case of a production, be it a series or a movie, the main motivations are almost always economic. It must be remembered that even though film is art, it is also a business in which the owners of any franchise seek to generate monetary income, and if the project does not meet that, then it must be changed. For 30 years Power Rangers has been sold several times and has had different owners, all of whom have had different visions. Have you ever wondered why Power Rangers has been sold so many times? When a franchise is sold, it's because it doesn't bring in the revenue they expect, so they try to generate as much as they can and, in the end, they sell it. Sometimes there are companies that don't give the franchise the attention it needs to evolve, and for this reason it doesn't generate the revenue they are looking for. When a company has many projects, sometimes they don't mind losing one because they have many others that can make money. However, Hasbro had another vision with Power Rangers since they bought the franchise, and according to the information it is said that they wanted to make a reboot of the franchise before they bought it. The seasons they have created have only been done to give the company time to organize the whole reboot, and doing this is not as easy as it seems. Although many think Hasbro is bad for destroying what we have had for 30 years, I believe the opposite, and I will explain why. All the other companies didn't treat Power Rangers with the potential that the franchise really has and continued to make money, but when they realized they couldn't get more out of it, then they sold it. However, Hasbro has seen the potential that Power Rangers has, but they realized that all that potential is not going to be realized unless there is an evolution in the franchise, as things in the world have changed. Although many fans love Power Rangers, the reality is that the franchise is aimed at a child audience, and these days kids don't watch as much TV as they used to. Basically, you can say that these children's shows like Power Rangers could generate a lot of money in the 90s, when TV was the most important thing, but now kids prefer to do other things. Now there is the internet, which has helped video games to be on another level, and platforms like YouTube have become the new television. This doesn't mean that there aren't kids watching Power Rangers, but there aren't as many kids watching the series as there were in the beginning of the franchise. So what's the idea behind the reboot? We can say that, in these times, adults are watching more superhero series, and they are those children of the 90s who watched superhero cartoons, but now they want to see them in an adult format. This has happened with Marvel and DC, both of which have tapped into this new audience and have been able to squeeze it, except DC obviously. Power Rangers has the potential to target this type of audience, but obviously creating series aimed at children is not going to do it. The response from many fans is going to be that they should have just changed a few things to make Power Rangers for adults, like they did in the special episode, but that wouldn't work. The franchise is already known as a product for children's audiences, so it was going to be nearly impossible to get the attention of all those adults who aren't fans of the franchise but do watch superhero series. These people already know that Power Rangers is for kids, so for this reason they don't pay attention to it and would never know that the franchise was changing. In addition to this, it takes more than just a few simple changes to make it what Power Rangers can become evolved, because if we compare the special episode with any Marvel project, we will realize that the special episode is still seen as an episode for a child audience. Even if we compare the special episode to the 2017 movie, which was indeed targeting the new adult audience sought after in the reboot, we will realize that the special episode still looks quite childish. Let's do a brief mental comparison with the Rita Repulsa from the special episode and the Rita Repulsa from the 2017 movie. We obviously know that the Rita from the special episode is the one we the fans like, since she's the character we've known all our lives, but think about which of the two looks like a villain for a children's project and which one looks like a villain for a more adult project. Although both villains managed to take the life of a ranger, the 2017 Rita looks eviler and caused real destruction. In order to pull off such a drastic change like this, the new universe can't have any relation to the old universe, and this is to start getting new fans that aren't lost. If they link the new universe to anything in the old universe, then the new fans are not going to understand what is going on, and possibly there would be some things that don't make sense. In this new universe they're going to connect everything. The series and the movies are all going to be connected. In order for them to do this right, then they have to start everything from scratch, with a blank page, so that everything is thought out from the beginning and there are no nonsense things. Right now, in Power Rangers there are a lot of things that don't make sense, and this is because nothing was done with the future series in mind. Another thing that has fans confused is the break that the franchise is going to have in 2024, and the reality is that they don't understand the importance of this. For anything in life to work better after such a long time, we must give it a break, and this is going to have a lot of positive effects. Possibly for us as fans it makes us feel a bit of despair, as we won't be able to see anything new from Power Rangers, something we have been used to for 30 years. The reality is, if we want the reboot to be a success, then it's best to give it a rest in 2024 so we can disconnect from the series we've watched all our lives and have a clear mind to be able to welcome the new universe. Look at it this way: to be able to eat we must be hungry, because this way we will enjoy the food better, but if we eat when we still have a full belly, then we will not be able to enjoy that new plate of food. There's a new project in the works for Power Rangers, and while there aren't many details on this news, at least it's somewhat official. Hasbro's president answered a question to Mariba, a writer for the Illuminati, and told him that Hasbro has exciting plans. At the end of the answer he put several emojis implying that all these plans are being created in silence, and this is something that we have commented on several occasions. Let's analyze well all this answer, because this can have many meanings, and maybe we can understand what can happen with the future of Power Rangers. First, we should mention that 2024 was going to be a year of pure silence, that is, we were not going to have any new Power Rangers project. This has caused many fans to be anxious, and we all want to know some details about a new season. For 30 years we were used to getting a new season of Power Rangers every year, and that is why now it has become so hard for us to wait so long without getting anything new. The reality is that good projects take a long time to complete, and this is the next stage of this analysis. Although Hasbro's president said that they are working on new projects for Power Rangers, that doesn't mean they are working on a reboot of the franchise. These new projects could be several different things like, for example, an animated series, new toys, collectibles, or maybe just a new series with the same format we've seen all our lives. Obviously, all this seems absurd to us since we all know that the franchise needs a reboot and a transformation so that it starts to be a universe aimed for a more mature audience. The reality is that the children's series was no longer working, and even if they did something totally different, if they create it for a child audience, it is very likely to get the same numbers as the previous series. The reality is that I don't think Hasbro stopped the children's series to come back and create a different children's series that they have to invest more money in, and this can be identified with the obvious moves. Power Rangers has always used the Sentai scenes, and this means that Hasbro doesn't have to invest so much money in production since the most cost comes from the Japanese series. If they start creating another children's series without adapting the Sentai, then Hasbro would have to invest more money to be able to create all the action scenes, which are very expensive. In the end, Hasbro will get the same audience results, but they will have spent much more money, and this would not make sense. It is for this reason that the only real alternatives that may exist are the reboot for a more mature audience or the animated series, which represents a smaller investment and is likely to have a larger audience than the typical children's series. Although the animated series may generate good revenue due to the small investment Hasbro has to make, the reality is that this will not elevate the brand in a way that will make it a great competition, and what it may cause is that in the long run Power Rangers will cease to exist. We all agree that it would be nice for Power Rangers to have an animated series, but this series cannot be the only thing that sustains the franchise and cannot be the main entertainment. This is because these animated series don't have as big an impact as a live-action series, and it's not going to have the same impact that a reboot with a Marvel-like level would have. In this channel we have talked many times about what Power Rangers could be if they manage to create a universe in which series and movies are connected, but that all the visual part is of a high level. If they manage to create a new Power Rangers universe with a visual level as the 2017 movie had, but that could have all the essence of the franchise, then it could become a good option for all those Marvel fans. You have to remember that even though it seems like there could be a competition, that really doesn't exist anymore due to digital platforms. These days there are platforms like Netflix where if you want to watch a movie, all you have to do is enter the platform and choose what you want. After you finish that movie, you can look for another one and watch it with all the patience in the world. Because of this is that Power Rangers should aspire to be like Marvel and create a connected universe aimed for a more mature audience. This new universe must have excellent special effects so that it can appeal to those fans who are used to a higher level of visuals, and with this the franchise can share all those Marvel fans who have never seen Power Rangers. It is for these reasons that the smartest path Hasbro can choose is to create a reboot for a more mature audience, but they must invest the necessary money so that the investment does not become a loss. If the company doesn't invest a lot of money, then the special effects are going to be mediocre and the visuals are going to continue to look like what we've had all our lives. This is not going to appeal to new fans, and the reboot is going to be a total failure. Although the Hasbro CEO did not give details about the projects they are working on for Power Rangers, we must understand that the best things are achieved quietly, and maybe they are just starting everything from scratch. Let's remember that the producers who were going to be in charge of creating the new universe have deleted all Power Rangers information from their websites, and this can only mean that they are no longer part of the plans for the future of the franchise. My theory is that the reboot that had been planned for a long time and had been in development for several years has been cancelled. However, Hasbro possibly started looking for other alternatives, and this could have happened for several reasons. Remember that recently there was a rumor that Hasbro and Netflix were no longer going to work together on the reboot, but that is still not official news. Despite this, shortly after that we noticed that the producers deleted all the Power Rangers information, and perhaps this may have confirmed these rumors in some way. This could mean that maybe Hasbro wasn't liking what these producers were creating, and maybe they simply decided to pull them out of the project. Still, it doesn't mean that they have decided to stop working on the reboot with Netflix, and maybe it's just a change of producers. Another important detail is that Hasbro is still working with Netflix on other projects and also works with other platforms like Paramount+. This means that Hasbro has other companies that they can work with comfortably, and they can create a new high-level Power Rangers universe. The thing is that in order to achieve that, they have to work for a long time, because these high-level projects can't be created with the same speed as the Power Rangers series we've seen all our lives. Although many people are unaware of the importance of a logo in any project, it is really something of vital importance for any company, franchise, and project you are going to start. If you have a logo that is not visually attractive or that does not connect with what you want to project, then it will be very difficult for you to start in the best way. Throughout the years, Power Rangers has had several logos, and we are not talking about the logos of each season, since obviously it would be different because each one has a different name. We are referring to the main logo of the franchise, which has been modified little by little, and although at the beginning it had many changes, then they were small changes. First, let's talk about the history of the Power Rangers logos, and then let's talk about the possible logos they could have in the reboot. From 1993 to 1996 they used the Mighty Morphin logo, and this has a very specific reason. When they created Power Rangers, the producers didn't know if this TV series was going to have a very long future. Obviously they didn't know that this was going to last 30 years. It is for this very reason that Mighty Morphin had so many episodes, and that is because they squeezed out all the Sentai scenes they had until they realized they had nothing left. Even though they no longer had scenes from Japan from the same series they bought in the beginning, the producers had to modify the plan since Power Rangers was still doing very well at that time. Because of this, they began to buy scenes from other seasons to adapt them to America, and with this came the modification of the logo. The first modification came after the Alien Rangers season, as that season had a logo in which the Power Rangers name did not appear. From 1996 to 2018 the franchise had an established logo to which only slight changes were made depending on the season that was premiering at the time. Despite this, I think it is worth looking at all these modifications to reflect a little on the changes in style that exist in the world depending on the times, as this influences a lot. In 1996 the first logo after Mighty Morphins was this one, which started in Zio's season, and although at that time it had other colors, the base design was the same. The same happened in the season of Turbo, but already in the season of In Space they used it with these same colors until the season of Wild Force in 2002. You can see that other designs have been added to this main logo, but its basic structure is the same. In 2003 they changed a few things, removed the Saban's name and added a little glow at the end of the lightning bolt. Just like the previous logo, this logo had many design modifications around it during each season to adapt to the style of that particular series, but the basic structure was the same. In 2009 it was the last time they used this logo, although later they would use it again with a small change. In 2011 they used this logo, which drastically changed the lightning bolt design and added the Saban's name again. Another change was the texture of the letters and the black border around it. They started using this logo in the Samurai season and possibly made these changes to better fit the style of this season. We can know this because in 2013 they returned to the previous style, but with some small modifications, but the lightning bolt was basically the same as the one they had before Samurai. In the Megaforce season the logo was basically the same as 2003, but with Saban's name and with the black border around it. After that until 2018 they only made small changes, and already in 2018 they presented us with the logo that we have known until the end of Power Rangers. This change happened after Hasbro got the rights of the franchise, and we can say that they were the ones who gave a new image to Power Rangers. Basically from 1996 to 2018, the Power Rangers franchise had the same logo and only made some minor changes. However, Hasbro's new logo changed absolutely everything, and they used nostalgia. I don't know if you had noticed, but the lightning bolt in this logo is the same lightning bolt of the Mighty Morphin logo, and with this we can see that from the beginning Hasbro always bet on that team. However, the letters are very different, and due to the design style of this era, these letters are simpler. Another important thing is that they decided to use the main colors of all the Rangers, and this also gives it a great style. In my opinion, as a professional graphic designer, I think they did an excellent job, and it was a very good decision to change the logo since the previous ones were not very good. Despite all this, I think these logos work very well for a children's series, but they don't work in the same way for a more mature series. It is for this very reason that in 2017 we could see a new logo in the movie that was released that same year, and here we could see a very different design. The most significant change was the lightning bolt, as we have always seen this lightning bolt with only one tip, but in this logo it has two tips, and it looks very different. Another change is the typeface and the effects they have, since they tried to give it that seriousness that the logo needs for a project like this. We can notice that this logo is a little dark, and that is because that was the style of lighting that this movie had. Despite all these changes, I must say that I was never convinced by this logo to be the official logo of the franchise in the reboot. Let's remember that the 2017 movie was the first attempt to create a reboot of Power Rangers, but because it was a failure in sales, then they canceled the project. The main features that the logo of the reboot must have are in this 2017 logo. The problem is that this is not enough, because in the design not only the features matter, what also matters is the creativity of the design and the connection you can achieve with the style of the project. A logo that works very well is the Avengers logo, which has had to be adapted for each movie, but always keeps its base design. This logo represents very well the heroes and villains of these movies, since it projects dynamism, style, power, security, and quality visual effects. This is one of the most important things of a project, since it is the first letter of introduction and can define the style that the project will have in the visual part. We could notice this in the logo of the 1995 Power Rangers movie, in which they used basically the same Mighty Morphin logo, but they made some important modifications. The first change is the color, and here they went to a darker style since the previous one had many bright colors. Another change is the texture and the effect this has on the lighting. From this moment we could see that the logo can project the style that the movie had, because even though we could see the same Rangers that we had already seen in the series, in this movie we had a darker story. In order to create the thumbnails for this channel, I had to create Power Rangers logos to have something a little different, and because of this I realized how complicated it can be to create a logo for the reboot. These logos are not as detailed as they are just for the videos, and that's why they are so simple in some aspects. In most of the logos I have eliminated the lightning bolt, and it's not because I think it's not important. It's just the most complicated element to include. For those who don't know about graphic design, a logo takes several days to create because it needs planning, research, sketches, proofs, and many other things that take a lot of time. The logos I'm creating are done in less than 30 minutes since they don't have so much importance, but here you can see more serious styles that are more suitable for a reboot aimed for a more mature public. If you are waiting for the reboot, like this video and subscribe for more Power Rangers info.